Hi, you're listening to Andrew Farris on INXS Access All Areas with Hayden and B. Check it out.
Welcome to INXS Access All Areas. My name is B and I will be co-hosting this series of podcasts with my INXS nerd Hayden Murdoch. We will be delving deep with you all to explore everything there is to know about this iconic band of brothers in Excess, sharing music, tours, videos, albums and oh so much more.
Well, welcome to INXS Access All Areas, episode 38, the podcast that aims to dive deep on all things INXS, get them into the Rock Hall of Fame, have a laugh, enjoy, banter, take the piss, and build a community of fans. What do you think, B?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Let's keep on keeping on. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, actually. Pretty good spirits, and I was up quite late last night.
Well, I won't go into that, but I will ask, how has your INXS week been? Because it seems to get larger and bigger and more varied.
I know. Well, I'll start off with that. I organised a tree for Chris's memorial.
Yep.
We've ordered a beautiful avocado tree, which is going to be sent to the ranch this week. What else? Loads of things. We've got a sponsor who is called, the sponsor is Tilly and Wilbur, and they're going to sponsor our show for a couple of weeks. And they're a T-shirt company, and they're going to give all our patrons a T-shirt each with our logo on too. So that's awesome. Pretty cool.
Wow.
And then for the list, go on.
For a cup of coffee, they get some good shit, don't they?
They're not. And then for the rest of the listeners, you get 20% discount on all the T-shirts. So she sells expressive wear. Do you know what that means?
Well, look, it seems like one of these new modern day sort of words, et cetera. There, like active wear seem to be one of those big buzzwords in the last 20 years. Expressive wear. Okay, fantastic.
Expressive wear. So it's T-shirts that say things. So it's great for children, like Daddy's number one and all that. So there's a discount code for you all. So it's INXS POD.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, use that. And Valentine's is coming up, so get on to that.
Well, throughout the podcast today, if you do hear a little bit of backup vocals for some children today, we will let you know. My daughter and my son are auditioning for that eventual INXS tour that comes about. So apologies in advance if there is a little bit screechy, but cannot control the kids on a Saturday to the best of my abilities ever be.
Well, you never know. They might be taking over in 20 years' time.
Well, that's right. It's all about, what did Whitney say? I believe the children are our future. Might be the most nauseating lyric of all time. Anyway, I digress. But look, coming off last week, it was a lot of fun putting that episode together. It was a labour of love. It took a little bit of time, but we trusted a lot of people enjoyed it, and a bit of a homage to Michael, obviously, and it continued sort of kudos and respect to the passing of Chris Murphy. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, I guess, being able to tackle sort of Michael, the artist side, rather than sort of the image side, B.
Yeah, we got a lot of good feedback from that, and the fact that we're quite respectful to just celebrate Michael and not sort of worry too much about his loss. I know we all do at that time of year, but I felt pretty good about that. It was pretty epic, I must admit. Put a lot of sweat and tears into that last episode.
It was very hard. It was very hard for you to have an episode about Michael and not swoon and not sort of. I mean, I know you want to read a montage out about the orbit of his hips and lips and whatever there, but
we'll part that for another episode, I reckon.
Another dream. Please don't be another dream.
Yeah, but I guess, for Michael, if we think back, especially the last few years of his career, and I even think throughout, he played the rock star, and I guess there was part of him that really enjoyed being the rock star, but there was also, I think, a part of him was the reluctant rock star, and that is that, think back to his musical interests, and friendships like Nick Cave and Black Grape and, also Sean Ryder and, his associations, with Danny Saber and Andy Gill and some of the artists he worked with. And cover songs of, Iggy Pop and Elvis and things. Like he probably really wanted to be artistically remembered and respected, I think, more than being adulated. I think it sort of is sort of an interesting sort of thing that troubled him, and I think those comments that the British Music Awards were part of that sort of self-image of himself that I think he struggled with, and I think hopefully last week gave an artistic recognition that, maybe more people could do, and maybe that's our part of sort of sharing with the greater community, because he can't help the way he looks and the way he moves. But, you throw the good lyrics and, the phrasing and the vocal ability in, he had the package, which all his contemporaries, respected.
Yeah. And there's so many people are coming on board now and saying that, that he isn't just the pretty face. He just had so much. There'll never be another Michael, will there?
No, not at all. But look, this is the time we like to welcome our patrons aboard. We have an honorary patron in Nick Egan, who probably went from sort of bronze to silver to gold to platinum to uber diamond status now, so much so that we almost need to probably sort of make him a triple act on our podcast. Maybe it's Hayden, B and Nick, because he's constantly engaging with our fans and community, but he's at this point an honorary uber diamond platinum status patron. Okay, B?
All right, I'll let him.
Did you like the photo he sent out of his birthday a couple of years ago, dressed up like a bit like the guy from Carry On movies, Kenneth
Williams? That was quite good, wasn't it? Actually, what we're talking about, Nick, I've done like a part 3 series for the patrons only. You're getting all the good bits. And the last one, he actually took us around his studio.
Oh, wow.
And showed us all the photographs. And, oh, my God, he's got some amazing photographs of, I'm not going to say, actually, because they are uber fantastic. And a lot of people couldn't see them. So I'm actually going to do a video of it with him next. Okay. So that will be for patrons only anyway. So cup of coffee, everybody.
Absolutely. Cup of coffee a week, and you get access to all of this sort of stuff. So but just I did text him on Messenger and say it looks like you're auditioning for Carry On LA.
I saw that.
Remember, it was like Carry On Up the Khyber, and those ones, Carry On, nurses and things. It was like Carry On LA. I thought Carry On Kardashians or Carry On Hollywood Hills. But,
carry on Hollywood.
He seems to be the most unpretentious guy living in the Hollywood Hills, isn't he?
He's so much fun. He's got every time I speak to him, he's like, go straight into another story. Like, what, you knew them? Like, when he was talking about Nirvana, he went to the last Nirvana gig. You're like, wow.
Yeah,
was there. He was there.
Anyway, I'll let you welcome the the patrons aboard, as we do each week, who we valuably respect and love and enjoy in our community. So over to you, B.
I'd like to say hello to everybody outside on the highway. Let's all say hello to everybody outside. It's about 10,000 people at least. Hello.
Hello to Pedro, Lisa, Foxy, Felicia, Sarah, Laurie, Carmen, Sudie, Matt Dean, Joe Robbins, Mandy, Linda, Danielle, Dr. Jim, Amanda, Leon, Anne-Marie, Lisa Calloway, Lisa McIntosh, Katie, Carrie Ann, Virginia, Byrne, Caroline, Paul Jolie, Joseph, Susan, David, Sandrine, Tracy, and Paul Boozy.
Well, all right, as today, episode 38, we will, in a moment's time, do our deep dive on the musical maestro, Andrew Charles Ferris, or Chuck, as you affectionately called him before in our production meeting, B. But yeah, looking forward to this, because if Michael, in some respects, was sort of the reluctant rock star, I think, Andrew initially was sort of the reluctant sort of, I don't do media, I don't want to do media, just let me write songs. So now we can't get him off Facebook, okay? We need we need Mark Zuckerberg to almost do an intervention for Andrew, given the prolific nature of his Facebook tendencies. I think he's addicted, but On a
Do you
more
reckon
serious
you
note
need
to
him
that,
to come on the show?
well, maybe we should invite him via Facebook. He'll be straight there with Kirk as well. Kirk will jump on too. But no, on a more serious note, we look forward to doing a deep dive into Andrew, not just his contributions in excess, but some of the things he's done outside the band that maybe our overseas listeners are unfamiliar with, because he's written a lot of hits for other artists, some which were, pretty much hits in this region of the world, but are timeless and are classics and deserve to be aired and heard. What's the time for, B?
And now it's time for the news.
Hi, it's Carmen here from Wollongong, Australia. You're listening to the world's best In Excess podcast, In Excess Access All Areas, and now it's time for the news.
All right, well, news time. We normally start off with some chart figures, but I guess at the time of recording, B, we've come off sort of 3 or 4 chart changes that were sort of relevant to the period of recording last week. So we're probably a day out from the charts being released. So maybe next week we will have lots of figures where the very best of album is in Australia. I think last week it was at 39. Moving along, though, in the USA, a little bit of USA news. It's anniversary seemingly after anniversary at the moment. It's 30 years, I think, in the last week where In Excess were really heavy in their X Factor Tour sort of promotion, and we're doing a lot of late-night TV. Arsenio Hall, who to me is almost like, he's not a patron, but he's almost like an honouring member of the fan club. He was really helpful to In Excess, especially the MTV Music Awards, during his own show. The Arsenio Hall show, he had the band on this week 30 years ago doing What You Need and Bitter Tears. I think the What You Need one is that clip where the audience all jump onto the stage and Michael's in the black leather pants and girls couldn't hold themselves back, okay? But that particular anniversary is this week. Equally this week, the 1991 American Music Awards, In Excess was sort of like the star performer that night. I can't remember if it was the star of the show or the end of the show, but a gentleman by the name of Vernon Reid, who was sort of the major songwriter and guitarist in Living Colour, the band, introduces them and highlights, obviously, the intro into Disappear. And Michael and the band give a really, really good performance of that, especially the vocals with Michael. And that's actually 30 years this week, B. It seems to have gone very fast.
Too fast.
Before we know it, it'll be Wembley 30-year anniversary, and we'll have to do a recognition of that.
Oh, definitely. We've got a lot of things to go, a lot of people who want to come on there.
Yeah.
Talk about their experiences.
Another couple of things, just to mention news. There's a podcast series called Stereo Embers, and I know Andrew has recorded and contributed to that podcast in the last week, and they dive deep on the past, the present, and sort of hopefully the future on that. So if listeners want to check that out, Stereo Embers, Andrew Farriss podcast. Again, listeners, we are going to get the band on. We are working our way up to that. We're going to make it really special when it happens, though, aren't we, B?
Very special.
Also, too, there's a great article. I think it was shared by a couple of patrons. I think maybe Carmen and some others this week that I ended up opening, and 90% of it was pretty good. It was called 60 Minutes of In Excess Non-Hits. Oh. And it was a really good article. If you just download that heading or whatever there, or go into In Excess Google Alerts, you'll find it. But 60 Minutes of In Excess Non-Hits was basically a deep dive by this journalist who was basically saying In Excess are pretty underrated. They were probably viewed as style more over substance, but why they were more substantial is because of the non-hits. And it's been a theme of our show to talk about the non-hits with our Spotify playlist gathering sort of momentum. But what was quite interesting with this journo when he did the article, he mentioned about 15, 20 songs and added them up to 60 minutes and said, these are 60 minutes of songs you should check out. Yeah, what was interesting was that half of these songs were hits in the UK, New Zealand, Australia, and weren't hits in America based on either the start of their career or later on in their career. That 1992 sort of backwards to 82 was probably that sweet spot for hits in America. But yeah, this particular list, I'll read out the songs just quickly in the article, and you can sort of read the whole piece. But it talks about Heaven Sent, Send a Message, Stay Young, One by One, Elegantly Wasted the Song, By My Side, Black and White, Make Your Peace, Calling All Nations, Just Keep Walking, Biting Bullets, Lately, Full Moon, Dirty Hearts, the song, Jan's Song, Back Online, Melting in the Sun, Tiny Daggers, and the title track, The Swing. So it's a really good article that talks, a couple of paragraphs about each of those songs and some overall commentary about things. I did hate the fact that he mentioned that, In Excess attracted sort of influences like Maroon 5, and that's probably they were the Maroon 5 of the era. I found that offensive. So
that would be offensive.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You need to get over that, Hayden.
Yeah,
I know. Let go.
I've got 4 more therapy sessions to go. Okay.
Only 4.
Yeah, that's right. But overall the article's pretty good because it does examine some of the non-hits and talks about the fact that that's such a great catalogue. And I think that's, to me, their greatest ever achievement is the catalogue. They don't have a lot of filler. It's more killer than filler, in their entire catalogue, and they can be really proud of that. But I urge, some of the more hardened fans or patrons, etc., on this particular podcast listen, to go check the article out because it does give some great recognition to some of those songs. And again, I had to chuckle a little bit because half of them were hits in other countries, so it sort of just showcases just their success in many regions around the world. But yeah, that was sort of another sort of US themed article for the week or reference.
Okay, there was a Mandy Nolan who is Rhett's ex-wife, isn't she?
Yeah, she posted something about Michael this week, didn't she?
Yeah, it's on her soapbox. We've put that onto our Facebook page, actually. That was 2 days ago. So perhaps you should go revisit that too. Yeah. That was quite interesting.
Well, there are a lot of tributes and testimonies to Michael, which sort of happened this time of year. So, yeah, absolutely. It's always nice to hear people say nice things about a nice person. And keeping into the USA in terms of other matters, the Grammys that were due on the 31st of January the next 2 weeks, have been postponed, which looks like it's going to be March. But I guess the second most popular word in the last 12 months has been COVID, and then suddenly the second one has been postponed. So I think we've all lived in that world of reality, B, where things are being moved around, haven't we?
Or cancelled completely. I think the Don't Change boys have had their gigs cancelled as well, haven't they, for Australia Day?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do sort of in the news section, and it's funny you mentioned Don't Change, there has been, I guess, with COVID improving in certain regions in sort of the southern hemisphere, a bit of a lift in concerts and touring. So the Don't Change guys have announced that I think on July 16th, they'll be playing up at The Ville, which is sort of a nightclub venue in Townsville, Queensland. So that's been penciled in, or might have been sort of a rescheduled from the end of last year. I'd like to sort of acknowledge a few other In Excess tribute bands, B, and I've got a bit of a list here around the world.
You? Lists? Really?
I've come up with a list, yeah. There's In Excessive, the Australia Day Eve, which is, I think, January, well, actually, it might be Australia Day, actually. Concert which is being played at the Entrance Hotel in a place called The Entrance, which is a sort of New South Wales town.
Yeah.
You might know and heard of that.
Been,
yes. Be near your way. In Perth, I mentioned a few months ago, there is an In Excess tribute band over there called What You Need, and they're playing Australia Day Eve on the 25th of January at the Empire Hotel. In Adelaide, there's an In Excess tribute band over there called Devil Inside. And they're playing on February 12th. Venues I don't have on me at the moment, but you could sort of download or Google Devil Inside Tribute Band In Excess, Adelaide. In America, in New Jersey, in July the 18th at the Landis Theatre, the KIC, the In Excess Experience, we've mentioned before and we've plugged before, a big concert at that theatre. And in Australia, there's the Australian In Excess show, another tribute band are playing on the 27th of March at the Ellie Beach Hotel, which is up on the sort of beautiful Whitsundays.
Yeah,
you've been up that way?
No, I haven't been that far.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And more official,
let's go.
Yeah, more official and unofficial, collection-wise, John Stevens, the former frontman of In Excess post Michael, he's actually been able to rebook some gig tours, and I know in February the 14th at Mission Beach, which is up near the Whitsundays or on the Whitsundays as well, he's going to be playing both Noiseworks and In Excess songs as well. Yeah. So fair bit of touring news, and it's great to see that maybe there is confidence in certain regions and areas around sort of the planet where, people can get out to a gig and enjoy themselves again.
Totally recommend going to see John Stevens' show.
Now I got the feeling that I've been living a dream, but it don't really matter, 'cause it ain't all it seems. Now you don't.
I had a thought then, wouldn't it be wonderful, maybe in a couple of years' time, when we're really successful, if we could do a convention and get all these guys together and do a big gig of all these tribute bands doing different songs?
Well, look, you know, if a bunch of
that would be cool.
Look, if a bunch of geeks turn up to conventions for action figures of Star Trek, anything's possible. So anything's possible. But we, you know,
are we geeks?
No, I think when you're rock music and you got tattoos on your left shoulder, B, you can't.
It's a bit sunburnt today. Can you see that?
B's flashing her left shoulder tattoo right through the camera at me. Very proud. Got a little bit of colour there.
Have you not seen that before?
I've seen it before, but I haven't highlighted to the listeners that we're not geeks.
Do you want to see my other one?
No, thank you. Your husband might come in and...
blushing.
Yeah, but yeah, look,
you are too.
Well, probably I got a sunburn, but moving right along, anything's possible. I mean, I one thing I would love to see happen one day would be sort of, as I said, a big excess party of fans around the world at a nightclub, at a venue which could hold 500 to 1,000 people, and everyone flew in and the band turned up and maybe played a little sort of 6-song acoustic or a little, you know, plug in your Marshall set, and there's a DJ playing INXS remixes all night and INXS tunes all night, and becomes sort of like a biannual and every 2-year event. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's the bigger picture. Mine starts off on a little boat, just an intimate affair with probably about 20 or 30 of us. And then we're partying with the DJ. And then this little motorboat pulls up and there's Kirk and Andrew and Tim just in this boat going, hi. Like, oh my God, how cool is that? A flyby.
You know, Kirk, mate Kirk, he will turn up to the opening of an envelope, okay?
Yeah, and he'll be there with...
Absolutely. All right, well, that's the news, B.
Hey, this is Tim Farriss, and you're listening to Access All Areas with Hayden and B. Hey.
Now it's time for Topic of the Week, sponsored by Tilly and Wilbur, providing unique Australian designed and affordable expressive wear. They make ethical choices one tee at a time by using sustainable quality clothing, supporting fair trade and using recycled packaging. Use the code INXSPOD for 20% off your first purchase at tillyandwilbur.com.au.
Stay here with me. Where do you belong? Ooh, my refugee. 'Cause you get what you give, and you learn and you live. You walk away when you stand at my door and you don't ask for more. Why don't you stay? When I'm with you, everything's going my way. All the stars are mine when I'm with you.
Andrew Chuck Farriss. This Is Your Life. Did you ever have a show in England called This Is Your Life, B?
Did you not have it here?
We did. And it was a guy called Roger Clemson. It was called This Is Your Life, and it was great.
Bring it back. Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
So, Andrew Farriss, this is part of your life, okay, that we celebrate today with glee and joy and a labour of love today, just recognising just what you've been to music, what you've been to fans, what you've been to our ears and our hearts and our heads. And we're going to be diving deep into, you know, your background and just how it is that you came to be with INXS and other artists. And we look forward to delving deep in more specific elements of your career later on. But we figured today we kick it off with a little bit of a montage of just some of the individual songwrites that Andrew gave with the band. and a couple other little tidbits in there from some other artists as well. So have a quick listen to this, and we'll get into the spirit of what is Andrew Charles Farriss. Take it away.
Running from a bad home with some cat inside. just gotta let you go. You don't belong to me. I've just gotta let you know.
This is what I say. I don't want no one to tell me they love me. I don't want no special prizes, but you come here. Sentir libertad, sentir libertad. I know you could not rush over me. Crackerjack Man was a great video to do because I finally got to unleash my band on the world of television. A good-looking bunch they are too. And how to face another day. In rapid fire, the children say, why can't we get some running shoes? And he can't explain why they have to move. What are you searching for? Your life is in your hands, and you know just where you're standing by the way your life's unfolding. I said you're gonna get hurt. Let me tell you something. You're gonna get hurt. I wanna tell you something. You're gonna. That baby.
Wow, so we had 11 songs there that I guess related to Andrew's individual writing. And look, I think a couple of co-writes might be with Jenny as well. But first one, Johnson's Aeroplane, we spoke about at the outset of this particular topic. Second one, This Time, I guess I've listened like thieves, B. That was actually the film clip was made in London in your hometown by Godley and Cream with all the lights and things.
Yeah.
But I know Andrew wrote that song a little about longing and missing his partner and maybe the breakup of a relationship and things like that. What does the song This Time mean to you?
It's really grown on me.
Yep.
I do like it a lot. And I didn't see that video until recently. So
Right.
it was good.
Okay. And Mediate, if you think of the song like Mediate, just forget it's in excess and forget that we all know it. Just think of the song itself. It's a very weird song, isn't it?
Well, I've said it's like a rap song. And you sort of disagreed.
No, I agree.
Oh, you agree? Okay.
Maybe you convinced me.
But
look,
it's very clever to work it around that age.
It takes the sort of the same sort of sound and sonics and beats of Need You Tonight, and then it has sort of a word, spoken word thing over the top with the rhyme thing. But in terms of the sort of the middle of the first side of a big album, like you can understand why the record company may have been a bit like, well, this is weird, but it's a classic song and it's really well regarded and respected. It's a very alternative song.
Yeah.
It was something that obviously Andrew really put together, and Michael really took the lyrics well and made it his own on stage. Next one, I guess, when we go for Andrew, which we just played there, was Beautiful Girl. Really lovely song, and I think it's something, again, that Andrew on Welcome was one of 3 songs he actually wrote individually. So it's quite interesting when you compare Kick and X. I think on X he didn't have any individual songs, but then suddenly Welcome came along and he had 3 songs, which related just to his own sort of contribution.
Personal, and personal songs.
Yeah.
And beautiful Girl for his daughter, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just grown, I think, over time. That's probably the most popularly played song in Australia off that album, albeit it's not my favourite off the album. It's one of my top 3 or 4, but it's probably had the most longevity on Australian radio. I think it hit 46 in America and top 20 in England. So
I think the pace of that song's really lovely. It just makes you stop, doesn't it, to listen to it? I know my kids love it. Oh, play that one again, Mummy, play that one again. They just love that song.
I remember when I first heard it, it had a very Lou Reed sound to it, and I know we'll talk a bit about that later, but Michael delivered a very Lou Reed type vocal, and there wasn't a lot of noise around. You had piano, and it's almost like that children type piano one note thing they were playing at the start.
Childlike,
I guess the video too has held strength over time because of the subject matter, and it was a great video.
Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl, stay with me. Beautiful girl, stay with me. Beautiful girl.
All right, next one there was Heaven Sent off Welcome to Wherever You Are, which started off as a bit of a ballad, and they sort of ramped into a rock grunge song. But that was a Soul Andrew composition. After that, we had Baby Don't Cry. Now, I'm trying to remember, B, you weren't a great fan of this for some reason. Is that right?
No, I do. I do like Baby Don't Cry.
The video you
it's
didn't
the
like?
video, not like that. It's all that white, isn't it? It's like...
I reckon it's cool. They look really slick and cool, and they're coming down the steps there, and it's like, we're a band, we're together, we're united. Check us out.
I think it's a bit boy bandy because they're all wearing the same clothes, and it's just like, no, I wasn't into that cheesiness, and it's like, they're selling out the cheesiness. I don't like it.
I reckon they look the coolest on that album, both in the shots and out in the desert and whatever, and they look the coolest. They're right in that middle 30s age bracket, and they're looking sharp and cool. Yeah, that's when I wanted to be in the band. I wanted to be on that shot.
I want to be on that shot in the back of that car.
Yeah, that's right. The next one, Hungry. Well, this was written and sung around about the time John Stevens was sort of, I guess, fronting the band, sort of post Michael, and I know it was sort of saved eventually for JD to sing off Switch. Hungry is a great song. The live version that JD sings it, and it's on the sort of Switch Live, I think, bonus album, is fantastic. I think Hungry. Yeah, I think if when there's a lyric and it goes reaching out, and it really climbs. It's like a faster version of The Stairs in a sense. It's really an ascending type song.
Great, really good.
But yeah, I think it's the song that, along with Pretty Vegas, still holds firm for me off Switch. And then moving into some of the Jenny Morris stuff, I know probably this is not in your wheelhouse because you were probably in the UK at the time, but the song Save Me by Jenny Morris was written by Andrew and I think Jenny as well. When Prince heard that song, B, he requested Jenny Morris suddenly become tour support for him in America and the UK.
Oh, wow.
Now, I know Prince liked In Excess because he sung and covered What You Need half a dozen times in London around the late 90s, early 2000s. But he really loved the song Save Me by Jenny Morris, which was an Andrew song, and that sort of got literally Jenny the gig supporting Prince. He saw it on MTV one night.
Okay.
Next one there, I'm not going to mention now because it may come up later in the show, but She's Got to Be Loved, okay? The song about you, She's Got to Be Loved. Next one, Crackerjack Man. This is cool. I like this song. Feels very glockenspielish for those when you hear it again. Not a big hit here, but it was a song off one of her big hit albums. And the other one, You're Gonna Get Hurt, was a Jenny and Andrew composition. Film clip's pretty cool. I think I've mentioned before. There's Kirk with no glasses. The only time we ever see Kirk, I think To Look At You, we might see Kirk without glasses.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Right
when he's doing is it lipstick on the mirror or something like that?
Squinty.
But this particular film clip's a lot of fun. I think you see Andrew and Kirk in the film clip, but it's an Andrew song for Jenny. So, Andrew, has been very much a gun for hire, both artists, and initially there was a Scottish band called Gun that he actually will actually work with. A lot of stuff with Jenny Morris owes the debt of her career to Andrew and the songs that he provided for her. Yothu Yindi, a very famous Australian Indigenous act that had a worldwide hit called Treaty. Andrew co-wrote and produced one of their albums back in the early 2000s. I think it was called Gamma, from memory. Tanya Kernahan, I think the daughter of Slim Dusty, who's the most famous Australian country musician. Yeah. Early 2000s, you could probably see that Andrew has always had a love of country music, which is coming through now. He wrote a lot of stuff with her. So Andrew's always been a guy that's sort of been quite prolific in his work outside INXS. And I think even to this day, I think, he would have a ton of songs in his vault that he could probably give to Pink and Christina Aguilera and a whole bunch of people that'd be worldwide hits. But he probably stores them away for a rainy day and for himself and people he wants to give them to.
Yeah, worthy people.
Sugar, I want to know you inside out. Mystery surrounds you. Got to figure it out. Driving downtown to your house, your lights are never on. You got me hooked, I want to drown. Without your hand, I'm going down. And I can't stop. Lord, help me out, I'm so lonely, and I'm bleeding from the inside. Oh, no, I need you, you need to remember who's your man.
So, B, I'd like to sort of throw to you, Andrew Farriss, for you, probably coming to Australia and then, becoming connected more with the band and getting to know them over time. What's your sort of understanding of his background, and what does he mean to you, and how do you see Andrew in the INXS sort of, canon?
Well, at the very beginning, he always come across as the guy that just stood at the back. And I mean, I've heard stories of him actually being shut out of his own gig before now, and people not even recognising him. Have you heard those stories? It's
no, I haven't.
Have you not?
No,
yeah, there was I think it was a gig in England, and I don't know, he probably went out and got himself a pie or something, and he went to get back in, and they wouldn't allow him in. I suppose he hadn't got his badge or something, right. And nobody recognised him. Oh, poor Andrew.
And he probably couldn't pull the rock star card, could he? Because he doesn't look like a rock star.
No, not at all. He's just so...
Cuddly,
yes, that's the word.
I could see you thinking it.
You saw it coming out there. Yeah, so cuddly. No, but he is a bit of a bear, isn't he? But I mean, he's quite headstrong, though, I do believe.
Yeah.
And he worries a lot, I believe, as well. You know, he's always the guy that's like, oh, have we got everything, or are we going to the right places? And are we gonna? Is the next song going to be the next best song? And all of those. So, like Michael, they probably had a lot in common, even though they didn't look very similar. They bonded for those reasons. I think they had a lot to think about, and it was really good. I went through. I showed you earlier, didn't I, that I was going through Murphy's book, and I picked out a little thing here about what Murphy said, and he said that they had a great connection, Andrew and Michael, as songwriters, and had a really deep bond which formed at the school playground, and both being able to express their ambitions and their angst through words on a page. So that's great to be able to just go home from school and just get it out and have a friend.
I think a lot
who understood you from a very early beginning. Yeah.
Well, one of the significant interviews you see in MTV America back in the day where Andrew and Michael, I think they're near a river, an ocean or a lake or something, and they're talking about how they met at school, and Andrew helped Michael out of a punch up, and they became kindred spirits. And Michael being the sort of lyricist, poetry, wordies type guy, and Andrew ultimately becoming sort of the bedrock of the musical base of the structure. You have kindred spirits. John Lennon and Paul McCartney met each other, and John knew Paul was very advanced and even ahead of where John was in songwriting. And John has even said he learned a lot from Paul just by seeing his skills and whatever there. And I think it eventually rubbed off the other way. And for Andrew, probably you're right. I think if the miniseries is anything to go by, and it was sort of, produced by the band, and they were very hands-on involved with the script. So you'd like to think if they're telling their story and what was in that miniseries is quite accurate.
Yeah.
And you sort of sense that Tim drove, from a leadership point of view, the vision of the band and kept thinking bigger and bigger and bigger. And Andrew was probably sort of the conservative one who thought, well, this is not going to go as far as we want. Let's be realistic, and probably being the pragmatist.
Yeah.
But most successful people in life, if you're totally pragmatic and give yourself enough reasons why something won't work, well, you talk yourself into it not working.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew...
Well, it's a good job he had a brother like Tim then that kept saying, well, no, you've got something here, mate. Let's just keep going.
And we talked about this last week, a little bit about family. And sometimes family is very important in aiding and abetting, motivation to continue, because, Tim was Andrew's big brother and John was Andrew's little brother, and there's Andrew in the middle. And take leadership from your older siblings in some respects. And, Tim giving sort of a rev up or whatever to Andrew, I'm sure probably, shook him into line in places. But Andrew probably was always the sort of the conscience of the band, and probably the one was sort of the worry a little bit. And is this going to work? And oh my God, I've got to come up with the next big thing, and I've the pressure and things. And I guess when the record company and your manager and producers like Chris Thomas say, hey, Andrew and / Michael, we want you to write the album, and Michael doesn't play an instrument, so it then falls back on Andrew to create the bedrock of music. Andrew really shouldered a lot of the burden and the expectation of where the band was going to go musically. And I just think, that sort of Shaboo Shabba, into the swing, into Listen Like Thieves, into the stratosphere of Kick, and then the consolidation of X, and then the tangent sort of left turn of Welcome to Wherever You Are and Full Moon, and then the sort of the coming back for Elegantly Wasted. There's some interesting sort of dynamics of transitions, but each of those albums, really have given a lot of joy over time, and some more critically acclaimed than others, some more fan favourites than others. Music's interesting in the sense that it's often very nostalgic to a certain point in your life. Mm-hmm. And it would be hard, it's hard for Paul McCartney to write Yesterday again or a song like that, because it was part of an era and a time, wasn't it?
Yeah, had its place, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think where Andrew sees himself now going down the country line, it's like, this is what's true to him now. This is where he's at in his life. This is what he's doing. He's got a lovely wife. He's got sort of a lifestyle that really appeals to him. His children are grown up. He doesn't have to compromise within a band dynamic. He can really feel experience from where Marlena and that's from, not far. I think from Ohio, I think they're from, or she's from. And, his experiences in the US with just, other songwriters and the country scene. He's really doing something now that's true to his art. But back then in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, 90s, he was sort of performing in a way and delivering music that was true to the place he was in at the time.
Good to have seen him develop, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I've been also looking back on Story to Story, and I thought Dr. Dolphin was his first band with Michael.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He was in a few others, Krauss and Merlin and Circle, or Merlin Circle.
Yeah.
But, they didn't really get very far, Dr. Dolphin. They were just in the bedroom. Yeah. So even though this musical genius was on the cusp, he wasn't going anywhere because he was stuck in the bedroom. Whereas, you got Tim going, at least he was on the stage at Davison High, he just got out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, it's good to have seen him develop. And now he's like, at Tamworth, and he was over in the States, and it's just amazing that he's on these big world stages still.
When we have the courage to invite one of these band members onto our podcast and talk to them, there's some really interesting things I'd like to ask Andrew, and I've been collating questions from some of our listeners that we've asked, and I know you have as well. Plus, individually, we have our own things we'd like to ask, but there's often a tipping point where a hobby becomes a skill, and then becomes sort of an endeavor, and then it becomes your job. And but I think any musician, and you think of people such as Angus Young, who we spoke about last week, and things like that with AC/DC, they just love their instrument. They love playing. It's sort of in their DNA.
Yeah.
And I think for Andrew, over the journey in the years, and people like Prince, who has a vault of so many sort of songs that have represented his career. Andrew probably could have exploited the legacy of Michael with so many things that are probably sitting in vaults, but he hasn't. But I think for Andrew, what I'd love to sort of know a bit about is, how much stuff has he got? What sort of things, pathways of music, has he written in his own time? What was the songwriting experiences post-Michael like when he went to America and was part of the Switch. Before the Switch album, he went over and started sharing some songwriting time with some very famous American songwriters. And his craft, I guess, has evolved over time. And a lot of the parts where a successful composer at his age now, he's not writing for top 40 anymore. He's just writing for the love of the song and the music. And weirdly enough, that pressure's probably off him now. And maybe that's why he seems to be really happy, because there's not the chart expectations. There's not, I'm carrying a business on the back of my shoulder. I'm carrying livelihoods, a touring sort of regime. I mean, I can understand how he may feel a lot more relief in his musical, journey right now. What are your thoughts on that, Bea?
Yeah, the pressure's off, definitely. And I feel so much that he and Marlena are both so in love, and the songs that he's writing are just beautiful, that love songs. But I want you to listen to this. This is Andrew talking about another track that was on his EP that he did, and this is called First Man on the Moon, and I just love the backstory. Have a listen.
The last track on my EP is actually called First Man on Earth. I co-wrote it with Guy Chambers. We were working in Primrose Hill in the studio in London, and Guy had, I think, a family commitment or something more important than what we were doing, which is understandable. And Guy went off for his family commitment, and he had a whole room full of these amazing old synthesizers, And I looked around and went, wow. And I was like a kid in a candy store, because I used to do all that sort of stuff on old analog synthesizers. So I started fooling around. Well, Guy came back through the door, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, this is what I've been doing. I played in the song, or the track at that point. He goes, that's amazing. It was 8 minutes, 8 seconds long. And he didn't go, oh, that's too long. We haven't got a pop song going here. But it's wacky. It has nothing normal in a pop song structure. It's really more about the music, and it's about the lyric. We're organic human beings, but we're obsessed with technology. I'm talking to you through technology right now. There's technology behind me, and there was different technology 50 years ago, and there'll be different technology in 50 years' time. And it's a relationship between human beings and technology. It's basically what the song's about.
Letting him fall, slowly drifting, see him sleep.
Give me more of that, Mr. Farris, please.
Yeah. Well, it's endless. I think when you've got that...
Because we're not really country people, are we?
No, well, he's got that creativity and being able to play...
I feel like I've lost him.
Well, look, it's interesting. When you can play guitar and play piano, it's such a great aspect of songwriting. I mean, some artists like Billy Joel write a lot of stuff on the piano, but then they translate it to guitar and vice versa. Chris Martin, I think, similarly in Coldplay, obviously writes off the piano and then takes it to some of the other players, and they put it through the guitar side. There's various ways you can write and compose a song. I just would love to explore that avenue, and we talked to Andrew just about the songwriting techniques and some of the varieties and things that come about, and maybe some stories that created those versions of hits that he was involved with. The song What You Need was, I think, called sort of Funk Song Number 9 or something like that. That was this last remaining song that Chris Thomas pushed them. We need one more song. We need a hit. We need one more song. And within 48 hours, they'd sort of taken a demo, turned it into a recording, and then sort of suddenly turned it into remixed and had it out, by Monday, And I think the quote was, talk about pressure. Some stories about the songwriting stuff, may not always appeal to all of our listeners out there, but I find it quite fascinating because, how did the song start from a certain position and grow?
Yeah.
A good example is probably the song I talked about earlier, and I've mentioned on previous episodes, Heaven Sent. If you ever want to hear the Heaven Sent, I think it's called the waltz version, or gliding waltz version, you actually hear, I think, Andrew singing Heaven Sent, and it's a very much a country waltzy sort of song, but it sort of turned into a rock song and a sort of grunge song, and ultimately got amped up and sped up. And that particular original version is on the CD single for Heaven Sent as a sort of a B-side. But it's interesting, certain songs can be sped up and ramped up and be put more guitars through the amp and everything like that. Just like we saw with a song like Don't Change, which is a real toe-tapper anthemic song, but then you hear the slow down version that Andrew sings with Kirk on the original Sin album when they re-released their old songs. It's a great example of a great song being able to sort of, I guess, have another life and be adapted. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So I think, you know, a great song can be played fast or slow in different ways, but I think Andrew, being such a multifaceted songwriter, and as some people do or don't know, he got given, I think, a fellowship to go and teach at Australian ANU in Canberra, which is sort of big Australian university. And it was maybe around 3, 4, 5 years ago where he was invited down for a year to, I think it was, to sort of teach music at the university to some of the elite students there. And he had his own residency there. And you can imagine going to class and there's Andrew Farriss teaching you how I wrote songs and things. And that would be fascinating for him to hear and our listeners to hear about, because there's no book to write a song, but there's definitely chapters.
Just to hear from a few of their students what they got out of that and where they developed from there.
That's right. That's right. Do you have a favourite Andrew sort of moment that sort of touches you, or something that you think about when Andrew comes sort of to mind?
An Andrew song, you mean?
Yeah, or a memory or experience, etc.
Oh, an Andrew moment is when he's at Wembley, and I've never seen him so relaxed and let rip when he's playing that harmonica and he's running all over the stage. That's just brilliant.
Yeah. I was thinking the same one, actually. I was thinking the same one. He's got the black leather jacket, he comes down and Michael's almost like, wow, look at this guy.
Look at him go. He was really having a good time that night, hey? There was actually a video the other day. Out of all of them, all 6 of them are on there, and he's looking the most dapper. Michael's got his mullet and he looks like he just rolled out of a nightclub, and he wasn't looking the tidiest at all. He literally looked like he'd just woken up and got on stage.
Right.
But there's... getting through all the names.
Andrew.
But there's Andrew, and he's got the suit on, and he looks like he should have been in Depeche Mode or something, you know, and he's got the shoulders going. He was really into it.
On the cover of the Swing album, he's got that sort of like angular sort of pose and stance where he's looking sort of diagonally.
Yeah.
And I think on the back of the Swing album, he's got the little goatee sort of beard and things like that. It's probably the weirdest looking Andrew I think I've seen.
What about when they're all lying down with the white cloth all over their groins?
Shabu Shabar.
He looks the most uncomfortablest ever. I feel so sorry for him. I wonder how long that.
I think that would have been a Michael initiative, and it was very artistic.
Oh, yeah, very artistic.
Michael loved the idea. You could imagine Andrew standing there with his calculator going, "What's the cost-benefit analysis doing this, Michael?" We would have had Michael sort of, Keats and Shelley, Percy Shelley, whatever there. Or Yeats there, artistic poetry man, and then there's Andrew, Mr. Accountant, going, really? Is this really going to add value to our legacy?
Yeah, I'm definitely keeping my
legs
closed.
And you know what? Tim would have said, shut up, Andrew, get under the sheet. Anyway,
okay, but my favourite songs are By My Side is absolutely top up there for me of his favourite songs that he ever arranged. The arrangement on that, as well as obviously Never Tear Us Apart, but those 2 songs, when you really sit back and you think about how he arranged it, amazing.
Oh, look, I mean, when Kick was out, he was 28, X was out, he was probably 31, you know, so...
and he didn't get a university to do that, did he? Do you know?
No, that's all right. That's all right. All right, a couple of little fun facts. Just I mentioned one about Canberra and the university there, which some people don't know. Andrew wrote all of the INXS top 40 hits in America, bar one. Do you know which one he didn't write?
No.
Disappeared.
Oh,
Thank you,
of course. Thank you, John.
Vocally, I think when I listen to Andrew, especially on the B-sides, which we did that big special a couple of weeks ago called the B-sides, Andrew, especially on that song we put on Soothe Me and It Ain't Easy, in those early 90s periods when he was starting to do some of the B-side stuff, vocally he sounds really good when he does that sort of Lou Reed type spoken word thing.
Yeah.
Look, he doesn't have the vocal range of Mariah Carey. I think Andrew would put his hand up for that. Thank God he doesn't, because our ears can only have enough of one Mariah. Having said that, though, he is probably somebody who sings with his abilities. You know, his strength is songwriting and craftsmanship and arranging and instrumentals and lyrics and things like that. However, I think he's gained confidence from the fact that he's found a genre that probably suits his singing style, his vocal, intonations and things like that. And You can sense just with each track and each thing he's put out recently, he's getting more confident within that. And when you are behind someone like Michael in a band, it's a bit like George Harrison being behind John Lennon and Paul McCartney. It's a bit like hard to get a foot in the door when you've got greatness in front of you on stage. So I guess I think coupled with that and the Andrew singing, with that sort of patronising Andrew, he's really come out of his shell as a human being. Like, I think Andrew was always more comfortable with probably not touring and probably just writing and recording and producing and not being in the limelight, and sort of help, and probably through media duties to Kirk and Tim predominantly. And I think for INXS, probably where they could have had a bigger profile in America is if Andrew and Michael did more, fronting up for the media stuff and did more hard graft on the media side. They may have had a bigger stake there and a legacy long term, because you're just in people's faces, Sometimes that's the marketing and the selling side, getting out and talking to people.
Yeah.
Bono's the expert at it. He's the chairman of the board. Him and Edge get out and do the promoting, and they're on every TV show, and they've always done it.
You actually just reminded me something there about this tall poppy syndrome after they did the Concert for Life.
Yep.
And Andrew was the first to go, right, I can't live here, and he upped his family and moved out.
Yeah, to the UK.
Because he couldn't handle that.
Yeah. And I think, it'd be interesting when we talk to him about it, is just, if we had our time again, what would have they done differently?
Yeah.
Sometimes, you can sit back and say, let it all sort of slide. But sometimes when you let things slide, the narrative becomes sort of, based on the rhetoric and not the reality. And people start thinking what's spruiked in the media is kosher or gospel when it's not.
Yeah.
Also, a couple other things about Andrew. Probably the most interesting moment I've made it anecdote for Andrew was when he was at Wembley, and he was before the major gig, and he looked around the big backstage area, and there's Keith Richards and there's Mick Jagger, and I think there was all sorts of celebrities hobnobbing around and the support acts and things, and he's like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom actually, and he went and lit up a joint and said, I'm just going to just take all this thing in, because if there was it was probably like the moment where INXS were reigning supreme in England, biggest band in the UK at that time, coming off the biggest band in America, and it was just the moment where they conquered the world and about to go and play the biggest gig or the biggest pub they've ever played. And I always like that sort of story that Andrew shares, because Keith is such a fan of music that comes from an honest place. And I know on one of the liner notes of, I think, the Bitter Tears CD single, he sort of says, INXS are a band, they're tight, they come from a good place, and they're real and whatever they are. And I know having respect for someone like Keith Richards would have meant a lot to Michael, but a lot to Andrew as well.
So Hayden, what's your favourite song that you feel that was more influenced by Andrew with his arrangements?
See, it's interesting because we've got Andrew who's written virtually everything for them, and the individual Andrew stuff. I think the song Mediate is the most interesting composition he's written.
Okay.
And I think Johnson's Aeroplane is one of the most interesting things he's written. If I was to go through the ones that we've played today, they're not very INXS-ish, they're an individual sort of song that's sort of come into the band and the band have fleshed it out, but they don't sound like traditional INXS songs. So I think Andrew's put his stamp on that. I think I love the lyric of This Time. If I could talk about the lyric, this will be the last time that we will fight like this. And it's not like, we'll never fight again. It's like, we're broken up. We can't fight again because we're no longer together. And as you get older and have relationships, and then you sing that song and the lyric and you know what it's about, again, it gives a resonance to versus when you're 15, 16 going, I'll just sing this song.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing about music. It can recapture a connection with you because you start to understand what it's about later on when you really sort of, dive deep into, hearing the messaging behind it.
Yeah.
They're probably my favourite Andrew moments individually within the band.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think you'd like him on first?
Well, I think we owe it to him.
I think so. I think he should be our first.
We're going to put the challenge out there at the moment. We need to get some of his new EPs sold, and we need a platform to assist him with that. And I know he's probably going through a little bit at the moment, which we don't want to necessarily put too much pressure. But look, he's probably going to win the trophy for Media Wars, the way he's cranking. And he would have been 100 to 1 20 years ago if he said Andrew would be the media magnate of INXS or of the organisation. Maybe it took him to have INXS sort of finish up as an entity, as a touring entity and recording entity, for him to come out of his shell, truly. But,
do you think he'll wear his hat?
Santa hat or Santa jumper?
Santa hat.
Yeah. Well, look, I think our listeners, it would be great if we could get him on, and also be great if we could get him in a fan forum with our patrons to maybe just share some stories or questions like we did with Nick Egan. So we'll put that invitation out very soon, and we hope we can come back with a positive answer with that.
Okay.
I sent a message. Hope it gets through.
All right, now we're going to just shift quickly into some recognition or awards that sort of Andrew's been sort of privy to, largely for his songwriting contributions. Some with the band, some sort of solo and productions and things. 1984, our version of the Grammys here in Australia, he was Best Songwriter of the Year along with Michael. 1990, he was Producer of the Year for our version of the Grammys here, the ARIA Awards, for a lot of his work with Jenny Morris, who we spoke about earlier. 2001, obviously part of INXS Australian Hall of Fame or ARIA Hall of Fame. 2010, I think it was the Western Australian Songwriters Hall of Fame, which I guess is where he grew up in Western Australia, Perth. 2016, the Australian Songwriters Hall of Fame. 2019, MBE, which is, I guess, an award for being part of the Commonwealth from the Queen for services and contributions to music. So Andrew's a very revered figure, pretty much individually and then stuff within the band, but also out of the band for just his overall contributions. And, we'd love to think that down the track, INXS, and part of our goal with this podcast is to get them into the Rock Hall of Fame. But who's to say that, individually he doesn't go on to still produce and record vital music for himself and for other people, and share some of what he's done for other artists, because eventually sometimes, and I'm going to be surprised in the listeners of this, but I'm going to quote the very famous singer Richard Marx here. Now, Richard's an interesting character. He's almost funny. He's a bit like that guy from England. Who's the guy? You're Beautiful, James Blunt. James Blunt.
Oh, yeah.
He's almost more famous for being funny on Twitter and hilarious than he is for his music, right? But Richard Marx said something quite interesting, and Richard sort of, a lot of people remember the long mulleted hair in the 90s, but Richard's quite a brilliant songwriter, and he sort of said something quite interesting. He said, nowadays I do a lot of producing and singer-songwriting contributions. Like he gave songs to NSYNC and Luther Vandross and a lot of people after his days as a solo artist. But he said, look, during your musical career, you're a bit like a baseballer. You're in the game, you're part of the team, and you have your time, and you have your innings and you have your duration in the game. And then eventually one day you've had your time and sort of you're out of the limelight, you're out of the game, but you can still sort of make a contribution. And I think with Andrew in the songwriting sort of stakes here, I don't think he's looking to go to, win Country Music Artist of the Year, and he's looking to be top 40s or whatever anymore. And Michael wrote the gift. I think Andrew gave the world his greatest gift, which was his hooks, tunes and melodies to millions of people. And that's his gift.
Beautiful. That's really lovely.
And just the last thing before we close off on our topic, it won't be the last time we talk about Andrew, but we wanted to do a generic-y type topic to just, again, educate people about the broad strokes and the overall contribution of his career. But we look very much forward to maybe diving deep in future episodes about elements of his craft. It could be more specific songwriting or a certain song or certain era in the band. And we no doubt, we've had sort of rumours and murmurings that he will come onto our podcast. We hope to sort of have that offer accepted very, very soon. where we can hear from the man himself about his craft. And if we've got anything wrong or corroborate what we got right, it'd be good to hear from the horse's mouth, country, so to speak. Bit of countryisms there. But thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
This is Felicia Marie from Carbondale.
This is Foxy from San Francisco. This is Anne-Marie from Ohio. And that's a wrap.
All right, well, that's a wrap, B. But we actually go into what is a very liked section of the podcast, is fan engagement. And there's been some interesting developments this week from some famous fan engagers. Is that right?
Yes, the fan engager to this only yesterday is a guy called Pierre Winther. Have you heard of this guy before?
I haven't, no.
So I hadn't either. And I thought he looked a bit special. He's got a cowboy hat on as well. Always makes it a bit speciality to me. So anyway, so I checked him out, and he is the famous photographer, French photographer, who took all those iconic pictures, elegantly wasted.
Scenes and stuff like
pictures.
that, yeah.
Yeah, like great photos. Have you ever seen, there's quite a few of them actually.
I have. It's funny over the years that those photos, the colours and the cars on the side and the green and the red and all these beautiful colours, and then the desert shots and things, it's great.
Yeah.
And I think it was either Michael or it might have been Andrew said, or someone from the band was saying, we're trying to capture a little bit the image of a bit like Pink Floyd's album Wish You Were Here cover, where there's two guys sort of handshaking, one guy's on fire, and you open up and it's got these very distinctive shots. And you know, Pink Floyd visually wise were very, very groundbreaking with, you know, their album covers like Dark Side of the Moon and things. But I think that's what the band was seeking with this. Shot all
great
in LA.
photos. So so hi Pierre is following us on
Hello,
Twitter.
Pierre.
So that is quite exciting. So we'd like to say hi to him, and then also I would like to also give a big hi to Joshua and Jackie. Hi Joshua and Jackie. Hi guys. And right, I've got a bit of a bone to pick up here. Right,
You're going off the beeline,
are you ready?
Yeah.
You're ready. Right, so we have got a Facebook page called In Excess Access All Areas, and within that page I've set up another page for our Uber fans who are patrons to the show, and it is called the Super Fan page. Now there's some people trying to invite themselves into this page by the back door, right? And I know you're very special, but you do need to come in the right way. So so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say hi to you now, and I'm also going to send you all I am.
You're going to name names.
I'm going to count them all out. All 16 of them. It's going to take a while.
Well, they must be really keen to become patrons then.
I think they are keen from all around the world. And I'm going to send you a little message each. So look out in your messenger, and I will send you a link to become a patron. We would love that. If not, if you don't want to become a patron, you can also just donate to the page, and then I'll let you in. All right? But you ain't coming in unless you're a patron.
Fair enough.
All right. So we will start with Victoria from the Ukraine.
Wow.
Mark from Muswell Brook in New South Wales.
Muswellbrook. That's your neck of the woods.
I know. Don't go very often. So, okay, let's say that again. Mark from Muswellbrook in New South Wales. Jim from Sydney, Fernandez from Spain, Jacob from Melbourne, Katrina from Melbourne.
Katrina, I think I used to go to school with. Is it Moore? Katrina Moore?
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, I used to go to school with Katrina.
Come
on, Katrina.
Hi, come on, Katrina. Got Susie from Bulgaria.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we've got Kelly and Susie, both from the United States. We've got Lynn from Norfolk in the UK. Hello.
Big cheesy smile there.
Yes. We've got Franco from Argentina. Now, Isabella, I don't know where you're from, but you like to be called Bella, and it's Isabella Felix.
Yep.
We've got Kath from Blackpool in the UK. Grant Williams from Sydney. And we've got someone called JMB Mary.
Yeah.
From Sydney, and Shannon from Michigan.
Wow.
Look out in your inboxes. I will send you an invite.
Well, we would love to get to know you.
Invite.
Listen, for as low as $5 a month and probably as high as about $30 a month, you can be part of just the community, and we'd love to get you in on a more serious level to some of the more elite not elite conversations, that sounds a bit snobbery, just some of the more involved conversations and high-end stuff that we talk about within the community, and get access to Nick Egan's and some of the guests and things, because it's only going to grow, it's only going to get bigger, and we're only going to get more people on. And the next few weeks we'll have Mark Opitz on, and hopefully he'll want to come and talk to some of the patrons, and we want to be able to use our platform to get you closer to some of the people who influence the music you love. So hopefully we could add a couple more patrons in, because only got about a week and a half before we give away that kick.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because you've for $5 a month, which is like you say, I've paid $5.50 for a coffee today. Yeah, and for a whole month, and I will throw in there the Max Q album that I can download straight away to you. I mean, that's worth a penny or two for $5, and then also
it's a good coffee per week, isn't it? That's about it.
It's a good coffee, and then you've got Nick Egan's, and that's still up for grabs there. If you can bring in yourselves and another patron, then you've got a kick poster as well. And I've also said Nick will do a one-on-one with you and the patron for that top person who brings in the patron. Awesome. Patron.
All right, well, we come sort of the end of the show where I guess we either put a cover song on or a tribute song, and being the genius of Andrew Farriss today that we're highlighting, we thought we would put on one of his compositions. And look, we're not going to put an INXS composition on because I guess, we've highlighted that in the montage a bit earlier, and we've also highlighted some stuff the other week in the B-sides that he was quite involved with. But we're probably going to put on a song that's his biggest hit single outside his work with INXS. And it was hit in Australia and in New Zealand and some places in Europe, but I think it hit number 2 over here, or top 5, and same with New Zealand. It is a song, if you could just listen to it a few times, it's as catchy as anything you will actually hear from INXS. And you can imagine this, that was written and recorded between Kick and X, when Andrew was really on a creative high. He gave this to Jenny Morris. We heard a sort of slight snippet earlier of it. It's called She's Got to Be Loved. The film clip is great. I think Andrew is in the film clip, but the hooks and the keyboard changes and the guitar and the soaring chorus are awesome. So we'll take it away with She's Got to Be Loved by Jenny Morris, written by Andrew, and I think a little co-write from Jenny. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from B. Bye, everyone.